friends, welcome or welcome back to the Infinite Library, and I've not done a TBR video in a while, so I figured it's finally time, mostly because I do actually have a good idea of what I'm gonna be reading next month. This is more of a end of year TBR, I'd say. A lot of these books are ones I'm maybe hoping to get to in October, but I'm also just trying to be kind to myself, and I'm also kind of in a bit of a reading slump at the moment, more of an everything slump at the moment, to be honest. But I have been struggling to be interested in books that I'm picking up. I've been doing a lot of starting a book, reading one or two chapters, realizing I'm just really not feeling it, and then moving on to something else. However, one of the things I am in the mood for, which is very good for this season, is horror. So I'm just gonna try and read kind of what I'm feeling, but I also do have some books that I'm sort of hoping to get to before the end of the year. So these books I'm going to talk about today are optimistic October hopeful reads that I will get to depending on if I've managed to beat this slump or not. If not, I'll just be reading them throughout the rest of the year. As you know, my main goal at the moment is to be getting through my physical TBR. I'm really trying to focus on sequels and finishing series I'm in the middle of at the moment. So that is kind of what you'll be seeing in this video. And of course, I'll still be doing Treasure or Trash. I didn't end up doing a video for September in the end for Treasure or Trash. I actually had started filming it, and I'd read like 3 books from Magical Readathon at the time, and then the slump just hit me, and I realized that having a specific TBR was just not going to work with how I was feeling at the time. So I ended up kind of dropping that TBR. I felt having the pressure of filming as well would not be great for me, so I also just dropped that video. But I am very excited for the Treasure or Trash episode I'll be doing this month, so that will be happening, and that is because it's going to be a booktuber picks my TBR for me, which is going to be Tiff from Tiff Reads Books, and I asked her to pick me 5 or so books for me to read, and she picked me a bunch of short horror as well, which I'm very thankful for with my current slumpiness for the month of October. And they're all books I'm very excited to get to as well, and books I'm in the mood for, which is great. Was not anticipating that, but thank you, Tiff. So that will definitely be happening. I'm probably going to be starting this at the end of September because I'm in the mood for horror, and a lot of these are short horror, which is good for me right now. So that will definitely be happening. Also, I'm probably going to be getting a head start on the Goodreads Awards, because what I wanted to do this year was I wanted to read every single horror book that was in the Goodreads Choice Awards. Obviously, those awards are not going live until the end of November, but if you saw my very recent video, then you would have seen that I have kind of predicted what I think is going to be in them, and I might not be right completely, but I have a feeling that at least some of those books I've said are going to be in the Choice Awards. So I'm going to get myself a little bit of a head start on that, I think. So I have a couple of books already here, which 3 of the books are ones I already own. I bought one that was quite cheap because I just couldn't find it anywhere in the library, and one is here from the library. I've also got 5 other books that are coming into the library very soon, and a couple of others that will hopefully be here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm gonna get a kickstart on these. Obviously I don't know if they're gonna be in there or not, but they're all horror books I want to read anyway, so may as well, especially if horror is apparently what I'm in the mood for right now. For some reason, reading horror right now when I am suffering crippling depression is actually really good for me. The ones I currently have is How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. This one just sounds really fun. It sounds very like escape roomy, which I think is going to be a fun time. It's more of a thriller. We have The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I'm very excited for this one as well. We have The Lamb by Lucy Rose. I went to an author event at the start of the year for this one, and I'm really hoping I like this one. I think it's going to be kind of vibe I enjoy. Similarly, from the same author event, I have Hungerstone by Kat Dunn, which is a Carmilla retelling. And then I have The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. So those are the ones I currently have, and there's more to come basically. I'm just going to be kind of working through some of those. I also have a couple by audiobook as well, because I got ARCs for a couple of them, which I believe are these ones. I've forgotten most of them, to be honest, but these ones I have audio arcs for. Of course, I will have my book club as well for each of the months. No clue yet what I'm going to be picking for November and December, but October, means we get to read a horror book. And I have been sneaky and put one of the horror books down as an option, just because I think it's one that people might enjoy anyway. So one of the options I did pick was Hungerstone, because it's a Carmilla retelling. It's sapphic. It's historical though as well, which I don't know if people are going to be too fond of, to be honest. But I do really like Kat Dunn as an author, and I think she's quite readable. So that is one of the books that are an option for my book club. The other two book club options, off the top of my head, I've kind of forgotten, but it's this and this. So it's going to be one of these three. By the time this video comes up, I likely will have had my book club, so I'll know that the book that we're actually going to be reading is this. Something that I'm really looking forward to that's going to be happening one of the first weekends of October is that I am going to be doing a little manga reading day with a friend of mine. We've been wanting to do this for a while now because we both got a little bit of a pile of manga backlog that we haven't got to. So we're basically just going to go and cafe hop for the day and try and get through as much manga as we can. Probably swap some as well with each other. So this is my current stack of unread manga that we have. I have volumes 2 and 3 of Terra, which is a really old sci-fi series. I didn't really enjoy volume 1 as much as I enjoyed the anime, so this might be a series I end up getting rid of, but I want to at least try and finish it first. We have the 2 volumes of this one. I have a single solo volume, which is Goodbye Eerie. This is by the author of Chainsaw Man. I watched a video about this months ago, and I've just been obsessed with reading this ever since because it sounds so interesting. It's more of a psychological thriller horror kind of thing than the kind of thing that Chainsaw Man is. But yeah, really excited. And this is probably the one I'm most excited for, actually. We have volume 1 of Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. This has an anime as well, but I wanted to try the manga first. This is a fairy tale thing, I suppose, where I believe fae are considered enemies. Yeah, like in a world where fairies are caught and sold to the highest bidder, humans aren't exactly on friendly terms with the fae folk. And we have our main character here, who I believe is a glassmaker, and she wants to go to this like competition, I think, to prove like her glassworking skills, but she needs a bodyguard, so she ends up having this like fae guy here to be her bodyguard. And I assume it ends up being about breaking down those boundaries between what's happened between the two races. And then I have the first 3 volumes of Inuboku SF. This was an anime that I watched ages ago, and I got the 3 volumes of the manga and then just never got around to reading it. It's kind of like a supernatural sort of thing. But I really enjoyed the anime. The thing is, I read the anime a long time ago, so I don't know if I'm gonna be really feeling it or not anymore, but I want to at least give it a try as soon as I have the first 3 volumes. So those are the manga I'm hoping to get through, if I still get through those and I still have time. I also am still working my way through the Higurashi series. I actually read a lot of Higurashi back in August because I was not really feeling reading big books at the time, so I ended up like smashing for about like 8 volumes or something of Higurashi, so I'm like quite deep in there now, and I still would kind of like to finish that this year if possible, and then I can start an Umineko. So before I get to the sequel that I'm hoping to get to, I have a couple of other books as well that are kind of on my priority TBR for the rest of the year. First and foremost, I'm doing a buddy read with 2 of my friends, and that is for Dark Rise by C.S. Packet. The 3 of us really love the Captain Prince series, and this has been out for a while now, and it's like 2 books I think in this series, and we've all had it since release date and none of us have read it yet. So we're finally going to do something about it, and we're going to buddy read this book. I believe this is a fantasy set in Victorian London, even though the cover really gives me sci-fi vibes, to be honest. It is a fantasy, I believe. I think it's YA. It's about a 16-year-old boy called Will who is on the run, pursued by the men who killed his mother. An old servant tells him of his destiny to fight beside the stewards, who are the people who keep centuries-long vigil to protect humanity from this Dark King, essentially. He's ushered into that world of the stewards. As London is threatened by the Dark King's return, the reborn heroes and villains of a long-forgotten war begin to draw battle lines. But as the young descendants of light and dark step into their destined roles, old allegiances, old enmities, and old flames are awakened. Will must stand with the last heroes of the light to prevent the dark fate that destroyed their world from returning to destroy his own. So yeah, it sounds very typical fantasy, but I really enjoy this author. It's likely going to be queer as well, which, as you know, I prefer in my books. So yeah, that one's going to be a buddy read. I'm also finally gonna get to Empire the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I've had this for ages now, and I fully intended to read this a lot sooner as well, but I just never got around to it, and it's so chunky. I think I found it a bit intimidating, but J. Kristoff has announced a tour for the last book in this series, and I'm going with my friend in November, so that is my motivation to finally get to this. For anyone that doesn't know, this is like a fantasy series about vampires and a vampire hunter who, I believe at least in the first book, is telling the story of his life to a vampire when he's been imprisoned. I think he's the last vampire hunter. But I also still need to read one more book for Yalk. I still have not got to Girls of Dark Divine, and again, no reason for it. I'm really excited to read this. I've just not been in the mood to pick this up, but I do really want to at least give this a try. It's actually out now as well because I saw it in the shops. So yeah, well overdue to be getting to this. It released in August, I believe. As I said before, this is a dark fantasy about these ballerinas that are being controlled by this horrible man, and this girl is trying to break them free. So yeah, more on the horror side as well, I believe, which kind of fitting for the season. I finally am committing to starting the Heaven Official's Blessing Danmei series. I watched the first season of the anime for this, adored it, and over the last month or so I've actually been trying to watch the anime series for one of the other series, which is Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. I read the first volume of that one too, but I just don't think that series is for me, unfortunately. But I know I love this one, and my flatmate is currently super addicted to this series. She's on book 5 or 6 or something, and I know she's dying to talk about it with someone, so I'm finally going to start it, and I'll slowly work my way through these volumes. But I think having read Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, I think I will get on a little bit better now with the writing style. I did actually start it before, as you can see. I got to page 100 or something before, but I found the writing a little bit difficult because it is translated from Chinese, and I was just struggling a little bit with the translation, but I got used to it now, I think, in Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. So I think I'm good to give this another try now. That one is one that I'm looking forward to getting through the series and being able to have a good natter about it with my flatmate because she's obsessed. We're probably going to cosplay from it next year, which I'm very excited about. I've been wanting to cosplay this guy here since I first started watching it. And then before I get to the sequels, there are a couple of other books that I'm hoping to get to. 2 of these I have physically, and that is these 2 here, which is Gate to Kagoshima by Poppy Kuroki and The Red Scholar's Wake by Aliette de Bedard. Now, what do these 2 have in common, you might wonder? Well, the answer is that I am very casually, as in it's not something I've talked about in videos, I'm not making it a massive project, but I am doing the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do at the moment, which is by QWERTY, I believe. I'll put details down below. It's a very just massive readathon kind of thing. It lasts a year from April to April, I think, but it's just a whole host of different reading challenges. And you know me, I love gamifying my reading. One of the prompts isn't actually one of the prompts for this year, but one of the prompts is to pick a prompt from last year's challenge, which I didn't do. But I saw there was a prompt for read the 5 lowest rated books on your Goodreads TBR, and I was actually, that's a good way to get to those on my shelves, because if they're that lowly rated, they're probably going to end up being books I don't end up keeping. And why do I have them if that's the case? So I've actually read one of the books already, which is I Want to Die, but I Also Want to Eat Tteokbokki, which I didn't like. Sorry, this one actually isn't in my lowest rated books. This is actually for another prompt in that challenge, and that's to read something that QWERTY, who created the readathon, has read in one of their videos, and this was one that they didn't like. Kind of the similar thing in that they didn't like it, and that is motivation for me to get to it, I think, because if it's not going to be something I enjoy, why do I have it? This one is one of the lowest rated books on my TBR, which kind of doesn't surprise me. I've not really heard very good things about it. It's a sci-fi. It is also queer though, so I am intrigued about this one. It's not a really pretty special edition, to be honest. It's quite basic in terms of special editions, but I do want to give it a try. But now that I know the rating is this low, it's not one I'm ever going to pick for a book club, because the likelihood of people enjoying it is very minimal. Yeah, I have this, and then I have a couple of audiobooks as well. I have Listen to Your Sister, which is a horror that came out early this year. Was one I was actually quite excited for, but low ratings, so I may as well get to it and then get it off my TBR. I have the Baby Dragon Shop or whatever it is. I actually was gonna read this earlier this year. I was actually gonna read it for that Righting My Wrongs video initially, but then I decided not to because I'd been hearing bad things about it, but then I got an audiobook arc for it, so I just decided I'm gonna give it a shot anyway. And then there's one more book that I have completely forgotten what it is, to be honest, but it's this book. So yeah, I'm gonna try and get to those. So I also have a couple of holds that are coming in this month, so I'm gonna be trying to get to them soon, which are my audiobook holds. I have the 4th book in the Murderbot series, which is Exit Strategy by Martha Wells. I think this is going to be the last book I read in this series, to be honest. I don't mind them and I like them being short, and I do like the audiobooks, but to be honest, I'm not super invested in this series. So I think I'm going to read the 4th one and then I'm going to call it with that series. I just don't think it's going to be a series I'm going to get much more out of, unfortunately. I also have the audiobooks for this YA sci-fi series that I really wanted to get to, and that is Warcross and Wildcard by Marie Lu. I read Warcross a couple of years ago now at this point, and I never got to the sequel at that time, and it's now unfortunately been so long. I do need to reread, so I'm going to audiobook it for this. They're very chill audiobooks, I think, because they're YA and they're just kind of action-packed. And also, I'm going to be doing the audiobook for a reread of Fourth Wing because I'm finally gonna get to Iron Flame, is the plan. I'm hoping I do still enjoy this on a re-listen, should I say. I read it originally and I don't know if the audiobook's gonna be good or not, but I just don't really want to reread this physically. I just need to like have it refreshed enough so I can go into Iron Flame. So yeah, that is the plan, is that my audiobook's coming in October for this. I'm gonna listen to it and then hopefully that will motivate me to pick up Iron Flame. And then I've just got a bunch of sequels that I want to try and get to, really. Most of these are finishing series off, and I've just been weirdly not feeling like picking them up, even though I do want to finish the series. Like, I feel like I'm in the mood to read it, and then I think I've tried a couple of these. I've read like the first chapter or two, and I've just not been fussed about carrying it on. So I'm hoping the slump will pass enough for me to actually get to these. But we have the second and final book in this series. The second book is Monstrous Nights by Genevieve Dimova. This is like an urban fantasy thing, but set in like a Slavic setting with folklore, and it's about witches, and I really enjoyed the first book of the series. And I probably should have just carried it on at the time, but I didn't. And it's also not super long. So as you can see, it's one that I did indeed try to start and then just wasn't in the mood for, unfortunately. Same with Sunrise and the Reaping. I actually had a dream whilst I was in my reading slump about the Hunger Games, and I was like, it's a sign for me to read Sunrise of the Reaping. But once again, I got like 2 chapters in, and then I just wasn't feeling like picking it up again. So another one I want to get to. Third book and final book in the Emily Wilde series, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This is like academia, fairy, grumpy sunshine kind of thing. Really enjoyed this series. It's very cozy, not super long either. I just haven't got to it. No reason why I haven't got to Harrow the Ninth yet, because I did my re-listen of Gideon the Ninth, adored it, liked it more than the first time I read it, and then just didn't get to Harrow. And I want to get to it soon because I purposely did do a re-listen of Gideon so I could read this. So I do want to get to it before things kind of lose the freshness in my head again. This is like a dark sci-fi fantasy kind of series. It gets very twisty, I believe, in this book, which I'm very excited for. One sequel I did, however, get to was the second book in the Daughter of the Moon Goddess duology, Heart of the Sun Warrior. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as Daughter of the Moon Goddess, but I did like it well enough. I just kind of rated it a little bit lower because I was kind of a bit annoyed by the main character again, and the plot just wasn't quite as good. It felt like a whole lot of fetch quests, to be honest. But overall, I did like it because I really enjoy Sue Lin Tan's writing. So I just have this short story collection, which is Tales of the Celestial Kingdom, to finish it off. I did read a whole bunch of short stories last month in the hopes of that beating my slump, so I figure having another short story collection is good, and because these are characters that are very in the series, I do need to read this sooner rather than later before I forget, like, for example, who Zhao Yu is. And then finally, another one that I did indeed start and then put down because I wasn't feeling it is the second book in this series. This is Where the Library Hides. The first book is here, What the River Knows. It's an Egyptian fantasy, although quite light on the fantasy, and I actually did get like 60 pages into this and then put it down because I did not enjoy those 60 pages. The events were just really boring and kind of depressing what happened in those 60 pages, and that did not motivate me to continue. This was like at the start of my reading slump and it didn't help. Those are a bunch of sequels that I would also like to get to. If I get to them or not, we'll see, but it is kind of one of my only goals for the rest of this year because I'm really trying to not start any new series at the moment until I finish off a bunch of series, because I hate being at that point where I'm in the middle of something and you've left it too long and you have to reread. So yeah, that is kind of a priority. I'd like to get to those ideally. It's just whether I am in the mood for it, basically. Otherwise, in terms of books and stuff, December I'm going to be reading a whole load of Snow White retellings. I'm going to be doing another one of my Fae retelling videos, and specifically just Snow White, because my god, has there been a lot of Snow White adaptations come out this year, and I'm not talking about the movie, I'm just talking about all the books. I think it's been nicely timed for the movie coming out, but I refuse to watch the new movie, but I will read the books. So that is something I'm going to be doing in December because it just felt right to be doing Snow White when it might even be snowing outside. And otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to be picking up other stuff for my TBR, hopefully. I'm going to try and be kind to myself and not give myself like a major goal to read a certain number of books a month because I'm just not in that mood right now. But I am hopeful of getting to at least some of the books that I mentioned in this end of year TBR. So that is it from me. Let me know down below if you've got other books that you're keen to get to over the next couple of months. There's probably a couple of new releases I'll also be interested in, to be honest. I know the sequel to Blood of Hercules comes out in October, which I definitely would like to get to. So there's that. There might even be some other new releases, but at the moment I'm really feeling horror. So I'm just going to lean into that, and it's also just very convenient that not only is it the perfect season for horror, I actually have a video plan that makes me read a lot of horror. I am positive feeling about that at the very least. Let me know down below as well if you've got any other good tips for trying to beat a reading slump. I have watched a couple of videos for it, like Riley Marie did a very good video about her reading slump, and I have tried a couple of those things, but nothing's really worked for me so far, unfortunately. But I really do want to just love reading again. That is just something that I am really missing in my life right now. And I've had a couple of books that I have read and have enjoyed, and then I just kind of go whoop again. That is it for this video anyway. Thank you as always for watching, and until the next time, stay safe, stay cozy, and I'll see you next video. Bye!